How's everyone doing today? I'm Grant Burgess. I'm the pro up here at Eastwood Golf Course, and today I'm going to be kind of working with Brian here. I got Brian Pintuck, and we're going to be focusing on the wedge shots today and kind of the short game and shorter swings. We're not going to with the sand wedge and 52 and stuff like that, because that's kind of the foundation to the rest of the swing. Because if we can get these short swings down, there's a lot less room for error with these clubs, and if we can get that down, that translates a lot better to the full swing, because then that'll help us. We'll make sure we're having our contact good and everything when we get to the driver and longer irons and stuff like that. As everyone knows, it can be a lot tougher to hit. So if we can get these wedges down, we'll be off to a much better start. So today, as we get started here, we're going to just be working on kind of the knee-high to knee-high shot going back here. And I'm going to just explain a little bit here before we have Brian start hitting some here. But what we're going to be mainly focusing on today is when we come into impact, we want to make sure that we have this impact position aligned. So if everyone can just get their club in the left hand, or if we can have the club in the left hand, and just try to get this club, shaft, and arm and everything, wrist, all in line here together, all flat and all together. As you can see here, this is all in line here, and to be a perfectly straight line. Because that's where, when we get back to impact, that's where we want to get to. We want to have those hands in front of the club with the hands leading, the club's leaning forward, and then that's going to make sure we're hitting down on it and swinging through and how we want, and making that nice, good compression and solid contact. So once we got the left hand on here, let's put that down behind the ball and set up here, and let's add the right hand to it here. And keeping this all in line here, because when we do that, you'll notice that you'll have a little hinge in the back of this right hand here, and that's very important as we're coming down to impact, because we got to make sure that when we're swinging through, we're keeping this bend in this right wrist. Because if we come through and I flatten this right wrist out, now I've bent my left wrist, which is messed up our impact position, and now my hands are behind the club, the shafts in front of my hands, and now we're going to be scooping it or flipping it under. We're not going to be hitting it very solid, and it's going to be popping up short, or we're going to be thinning it or topping it, and it's just not going to be solid here. So as we come into it, we're really going to be focusing on getting our hands and everything leading the way, and the shaft leaning forward, so this is all in line here. And like I said, when we start here, when Brian starts hitting, we're just going to be doing about knee high going back, and it's going to be knee high going through. And as he hits each shot here, I'm going to be having him hold his finish, because that can tell you pretty much how you swung after each shot. Because if we come through it and I've broken this wrist down after I finish, that means when we come into the ball and I've broken this wrist and I flipped at it, and now this club's out in front and my hands aren't leading anymore, and we're just not going to be consistent, and we're just not going to hit a good shot. So as you'll see, I'll start working with him here, but as you'll see, he's just going to take it back to here, and once he gets to this point, it's all leading the hands. We got to make sure that these hands and everything keep leading the way, and that they're not slowing down, and that we're just going to accelerate all the way to this finish here. And as we finish, you can see that this is still on line here. I swung through here, but if I just bring it out in front of me here again, this is still on line. I haven't broke anything down here, and that's what we're going to be looking for here. So Brian, come on and hop in here, and just we're going to start, just like we said, knee high to knee high, and we're just going to be trying to hit it about 20 yards out there. It's not going to be going too far. And after you hit each one here, I'm just going to have you hold that finish for about 2 or 3 seconds, and let's take a look at how it looks after each shot here. All right. Good, very good. Now you can see when he finished here, now this is all in line here. He kept this very good, and that ball went out there, it popped up, and you can see he took a little turf with it too, if you were noticing. So he hit that one really good. That was great on that one. Let's have another one here.
Practicing what you taught me.
And how does that feel? Does that feel a lot more solid than it otherwise would? Or?
It's very solid. It's awkward to remember and to feel it. It doesn't feel natural, but it works.
Yep, and you'll notice that if you can just get this half shot down and you can get the contact, it'll be a lot easier once you start getting to that forward swing and hitting it, because then you'll know what it feels like to have that solid impact, and you'll just be able to replicate that a lot easier. And it takes some time, because this is probably the most where everyone struggles the most. They end up flipping at it, most everyone coming into the ball and getting to that tough, so it does take a little time, but let's have one more here, and then I'm going to give Brian a good drill for this as well. And he's hitting all of these shots great. If you look at this finish, this is exactly what we're wanting. This is absolutely perfect. He hasn't broken anything down here, which is what we talked about we don't want. He's right here. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So he's gonna keep hitting a few more here. But the best drill I like for this shot is if you can get a tee. It can be a broken tee or it can be whatnot, because you're probably gonna end up breaking it anyway. So just might as well find what you got out there. But just find a tee, and you want to stick that tee pretty good in the ground, but you want to get it about 2 to 3 inches out in front of that ball. Because when you end up going to hit it, your main focus is going to be knocking that tee out with that club here. You're still going to end up hitting the ball, but your main focus is going to be knocking that tee out. And what that does is it starts focusing our mind on hitting that spot out in front of the ball, and that's going to get our hands leading into it a little better. Because a lot of times when we just start focusing on the ball or whatnot, we end up trying to get in here, and then we start flipping with our hands a little bit and trying to help it or scoop it, and then now I've broken my wrist and we haven't got to that point we want at impact where this is all in line here together. So when we hit this one, your main focus is just knocking that tee out, and you can see that tee is completely out of the ground. Hit the ball first, got the grass, and then it went out there just how we want, about 30 yards out there. So Brian, hop in here again. Just keep going here. Perfect, you didn't quite knock it out of the ground, but if you clip the tee, your misses will be a lot better too, you know. So and what you don't want is when you come through and if you didn't clip the tee at all, because then you know you picked up or you didn't get those hands leading into it. So as long as you're at least clipping the tee somewhat, that's gonna at least make your misses a lot better, and it'll just at least get you going in the right direction a lot easier. So do the same thing here. Let's just hit a couple more with this knee high to knee high swing, and then we'll kind of just hit a few forward swings to finish up here. Very good. That was solid. You knocked the tee out there. That's exactly what we were looking for. How'd that feel?
Good, good.
Yeah.
Got a little higher, and there I noticed like my wrist feels like it bends, but I think at some point it's going to have to start to go
and
up.
it will bend a little bit as you get up, but the main point is this right through here. We want about 2 to 3 feet through the ball. We got to make sure that this is all staying together and we're not flipping or breaking this down at all. So, you got any questions or anything so far? Or?
No.
Okay.
No, everything seems to be good.
So he's hitting that short shot great right now. So we're just going to move up to pretty much a full wedge shot now. And you can still keep using this tee drill, because that just puts a great focus point for your mind, and it's just probably the best, easiest drill you can do, and it just gets that mind focused on a good point so we can get swinging through it how we want. So just real quick before we start getting to the full swing here, so when we're hitting that knee high to knee high, there's not too much body turn there. It's just because it's more of an arm swing, it's just going back to here and it's just going to here, so we don't need too much body turn. But really the only thing that's going to change as we get to this more of a full swing is the stance is going to widen up a little bit, just so we can have a little more stability. But then really the only thing is we're just going to be taking it back farther, but that means we just have to get a little more body turn going back as well, because if we go back and we're just swinging our arms, then we're going to be, when we come back down to it, it's just going to be a lot easier to flip it as well. So we got to make sure we have a lot more body turn going back, and then when we come through, we're going to still swing through and make sure we're clipping that tee out and with our hands leading, and then we're going to turn all the way to a full finish and nice and in bounds here. So you got that?
Sounds challenging.
Let's see it, Brian. And you see here what he's doing. Brian's taking a couple of practice swings before he starts, and that's one of the best things you can do, because it gives you a feel before each shot, and then at least get going in the right direction before each one. Very good. And you can just see it too when he's hitting the ground. It's just that ball, and then he's knocking that turf. That turf is flying up. He's just hitting it nice and solid. He's really compressing it. That's exactly what you want. and then we'll kind of wrap it up and just go over the last few points here. Good. Now you can sit on that one. You didn't quite get down to it and get the grass, and that T's still standing there too. So you kind of, when he came through it, he kind of just picked up a little bit and didn't quite stay down through it. So
Take the practice with it.
balance here. He's nice and in balance. I'm over here pushing him. He's not falling over anywhere. That's exactly how you want to end up. And then you know you got a nice swing after that one. So, you got any questions, Brian, as we come to the end here?
No, just
so,
practice.
Just to review here a little bit, if you can start out with the wedges, because that's a lot easier to hit than with like the longer irons and drivers, and you can see your misses a lot better, and then you can kind of get the feeling down. So when you start practicing, let's just start with a little shorter swing. Let's just go to knee high, and then we're going to go to knee high as well. And when we finish, we want to make sure that this left wrist, arm, and club is all staying together still, and we're not. And when we come through, we're not breaking down, and we're keeping this left wrist and everything together, and then we have a little bend in this right wrist as well, because that makes sure that we keep this angle that we're looking for. Because if I come down and flatten that, now I've bent this left wrist, and that's where we're not at. So when we're hitting that, we're just going to go right to there and there, and then as you work your way up to the forward swing, you're just going to add a little more swing back, and that means a little more body turn. And then as you go through, you're going to have a little more body turn as well, and then nice to a full finish. Or most of our weights down to the left side here, and you'll be good to go. Just work on that a little bit, and should be going good. Yep, have a good one.